right, waiting for people to get in the chat. People continue to ask for, already somebody in the chat. People continue to ask for, uh, we had some people in the chat last time, but a lot of people were requesting for it to not be a blackout stream, and they asked for me to have my camera on. I was just in the process of moving, still don't have everything set up correctly, but figured, hey, what does it matter? We can turn the camera on. Who's in the chat? Who's in the chat? Identify yourself. Identify yourself. You don't have to if you don't want to. Let me hit some people up before we get started here. Hold on. Silence. All right, man. Let's go ahead and get into some stuff. So, a lot of news going on. As always, I try to stay up to date as much as possible. A lot of news in hip hop, a lot of geopolitics, a lot of politics. It's election year, so there's a lot of stuff going on. I kind of want to just start with the situation that is going on in the Middle East still. I like to kind of shine light on that, update. Israel has now, started a new front in Lebanon, and we are now sending 1,000 troops over to the Middle East. I mean, we already have troops stationed over there and stuff, but we are sending 1,000 troops over there to work this new air defense system that we are basically giving them for the time being, while they're struggling with the Iron Dome, which is their top military defense, air defense system, and Hezbollah, Iran, some of the proxies over in that region continue to launch airstrikes. They killed about 7 Israelis, including the top Israeli official this past week. So the war continues to expand, and that is really not good news for anybody. This war, the problem with this war was the idea of it widening, and that's why it was so futile in the beginning. And that, it started with Israel and Hamas, and everybody in the region. Also, everybody around the globe feared that this would expand. So, hold on. I thought I dropped a link. Give me 1 second. Oh, let me comment. All right, there is the link. All right, so we should be up, guys. We should be up. People should be in the chat. So yeah, as I was saying, was the whole fear this whole time was the war expanding, which it now has. We're over a year now, and we're a year and a month in, and this war has expanded, which was everybody's original fear. The big dispute right now is between Israel striking Iran oil facilities and their nuclear infrastructure, which Joe Biden has spoke out against, Kamala has spoke out against. But that's kind of like a issue that's going on right now as far as the politics behind it. I mean, obviously, this is a escalation. This would be an escalation in that, obviously we import and export. I mean, we import, oil from that region, and a lot of it. So, this Iran has also said that they will continue sanctions with the oil, and that they will withhold and embargo oil and stuff from us. They have again cautioned us and warned us as far as the United States to stay out of the Middle East and do not intervene. But like I said in the beginning, at the top of this live stream, that we have sent more troops over there to work this air defense system that we just I think they just got it today. I mean, there was reports last week that they were sending this air defense system because, again, the Iron Dome has been compromised. It's been overworked over the past few months while they've been in active war. And they're opening so many new fronts there that it's just, I don't think that the Iron Dome is meant to be able to accommodate all of that, the war from that whole region. Now, we also continue to send funds up that way, which, I mean, I think we're all at the point where we understand that the United States is not going to stop sending funds to Israel. It's like I always kind of say, it's their little baby. I mean, Israel's their little baby. It's the 51st state of the United States. It's really the spy of the Middle East. Mossad, which is like the counterintelligence, it's like the CIA of Israel. You know, they're doing operations and stuff. And again, like I have my own kind of opinions and readings and stuff that I believe about these new fronts that Israel is starting. A homie of mine was just saying that he just doesn't understand why they continue to march on and why that they've already dealt with Gaza and the situation there. They've decimated Gaza, the Gaza Strip. But people are wondering, well, why have they continued their front into New Lebanon and what's going on there? Well, they are supposedly been attacked by, Iran's proxies, Hezbollah. So that's what's supposedly going on there. But realistically, what's their territory, their Greater Israel Project. So I always use this platform to let people know that is what is going on. That the Greater Israel Project is an expansion of us in the Middle East, Israel in the Middle East, and democracy in the Middle East. That's essentially what's going on. Got to remember that these are Islamic nations that are surrounding in the Middle East. Some of them, shout out to everybody in the chat. A lot of these places have been forcibly have accepted democracy or, bipartisan democracy, essentially by force that, like South Africa is under apartheid. That's where Elon Musk is from. A lot of those places have been forced to accept democracy due to the United States and Israel's presence in the Middle East. They have such you gotta remember, the United States has like 800 bases, military bases that stem across the globe. We act as the global policemen. And it's all in the name of protecting democracy. But really what it is the fact that the United States and the owners of the United States want to expand democracy all across the globe. They talk about preventing, globalism, but we are actually by other nations, we have been accused of trying to enforce globalism on the rest of the nations. We got a few, you got Russia, you got China that still haven't accepted democracy, and then a few nations in the Middle East. But that's essentially what's going on there. It's all diplomatic war, really. Now, the funds, I've been taught that you always follow the funds. You always follow the funds. If you want to get to the truth behind something, follow the funds. Well, we donate, not donate, but we give all this money to Israel. We give all this money to Ukraine. It's really interesting, the Ukraine situation is that, if you guys remember back in 2020, before the Ukraine war happened, filling Ukraine. We weren't filling Ukraine. And, in the midst of this, Trump has always talked about not withdrawing from NATO. Well, he's made threats from withdrawing from NATO, and that is, he's still making threats. In fact, just a few days ago, he said that unless people in NATO pay their fair share, that he's going to withdraw from NATO. He's not legally. It's going to be impossible for him to really take the United States out of NATO, but he is planning on. Him and his team are working on ways for NATO to feel some of the pressure if they do not step up their funds and contributing. What do I mean by that? So NATO, in order for you to be in NATO, um, you are to really, contribute at least 2% of your GDP to national defense, to your defense. Now, there's like 32 nations in NATO, 23 of them, which Kamala, who she used at the debate, she talked about the fact that they actually added like 13 more nations to NATO as far as them contributing that 2%. But everybody in NATO isn't contributing the 2%. There's about 9 nations left that aren't contributing that 2%. Some are over the 2%, but we are by far, the United States contributes the most to our national defense. We spend over $900 billion on defense, and we contribute that to NATO. And so we're pulling more than our fair share. We're at like over 3.5% or close to 3.5% of our GDP goes into defense, but the other countries in NATO aren't pulling their own weight. So Donald Trump's whole point is that he wants to basically incentivize them he feels like we're spending too much in protecting other nations and their sovereignty and democracy across the globe, and they're not pulling their own weight, and that they should pay for some of this. And I tend to agree as far as that policy goes. Now, how he's going to go about making that happen, that's a whole different conversation. But I definitely tend to agree. A lot of people, he's facing a lot of backlash for that. Obviously, he's going this kind of idea as far as, so are you saying you're voting for Trump? The review asked if I'm voting for Trump. No, I'm not voting for Trump. Am I voting for Kamala? No. I wish my dude was on here. Who did he tell me he's voting for? He said he was fucking voting for Cornel West. Like, come on. Nobody's voting for fucking Cornel West. This isn't the 80s with Jesse Jackson and shit like that. Like, stop it. We're 3 weeks away. Y'all got to get serious. But no, I'm not voting for Trump. However, I do think y'all got to remember he's a businessman. He's a businessman, and he also wrote he has a book called The Art of the Deal. So he's had this approach as far as, even no, Shane, I'm not voting for Trump. Y'all are voting for Trump. Y'all need to tell the truth. Tell the people that y'all are voting for Trump, man. Tell the people. Speaking of that, man, Kamala's base, the Democrats usually win the black vote. They usually get 90% of the black vote, but she is at 78% right now, and that's why she is currently. And now I'm off the grid. Now I'm way off. She is currently scrambling, guys. If you guys want to watch how this works, her next few press runs are going. She already sat down with Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson. Didn't fucking work. She's now trying to sit down with Joe Rogan. He's not going to accept it. She is flocking on her base, which is predominantly, she thought she was going to have the black and Hispanic vote. She is not having that like she should. Trump is actually starting to garner a lot of the black and Hispanic votes. Kamala also now is like clear as day. And I know I got people in the room. I don't give a fuck. You guys drop comments. I don't care how y'all feel. She's clear as day, pandering to black men. She's now offering forgiveness loans of $1 million for black men trying to enter entrepreneurship. The whole weed legalization talk she's doing. She's literally like trying to throw out money at the last go around to basically get votes. And I think people are seeing it clear as day. And all the Don has done is continued to go on his press run. He had that slip up in the beginning of October, or actually at the end of September, whenever the debates were, with the whole situation here in our home. And he struggled for that week or two, and Kamala kind of boosted herself up in the runnings. But from then, it's been total flip-flop. She's had gaffe after gaffe. They sent Obama out. Man, Obama came out of fucking nowhere a few days ago trying to tell black people to vote for her and that black men needed to vote for her and all this and all that. Listen, man, y'all, it's 2024. Y'all can't do the clear-cut pandering that y'all used to do back in the day. We have the World Wide Web. It just isn't going to work like that. It just simply isn't going to work like that. We got to hear, a lot of people really seriously want to hear policies. They want to hear about they want to hear economics. So you're voting for Trump, man. Y'all are spamming, man. I'm not voting for Trump, man. I'm not voting for Trump. I'm just the mouthpiece. I'm here to tell y'all what's going on. It's not my place to tell y'all what I'm doing. It's my place to tell y'all what's going on. Okay, we'll tell her to legalize prostitution and forgive student loans. She'll do whatever. Kamala will do whatever right now, man. I'm telling y'all, we're 3 weeks out, and I don't know where she can turn to. Steven Jackson, Matt Barnes ain't going to get it done. Sitting next to Charlemagne ain't going to get it done. She already had Megan Thee Stallion twerking on stage. The Teflon Don, y'all, the Teflon Don is looking like he is going to be the clear-cut winner. If we get a legal election, if we get a clean-cut election, it looks like the Don is going to be the winner. But here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. Donald Trump, if you guys, and it's almost like we're in a coup. This country is almost like, I'm not shocked. I really believe that this country has been overthrown secretly for a while, or at least our media has been compromised. But Donald Trump, there was another man that was arrested outside of Donald Trump's PA rally that he just had on Sunday or Saturday or Sunday. He had different license plates. He had a fake passport. He had a gun, and he was arrested right outside of the rally. Now, this guy, it was in actually California, but this guy was released. He was detained and then released. He was cited. He has court coming up, but they let him out. Hopefully he makes it to his court date, but he claimed innocence. He said that he was actually a Trump supporter. He had no plans of doing any harm. But, and obviously the fucking dumb laws in California allow, if it's a misdemeanor charge or anything like that, it's, you could be released. Everybody knows the situation going on in California as far as their laws when it comes to crime and shit like that, which Kamala Harris was a part of that crime bill and stuff. So anyways, but yeah, the guy was found outside of the Trump rally again with a gun. This is the third attempt. We got the first attempt where the alleged assassin was killed. The second one where he was detained. Now we don't get any information, no updates on the status with that. That guy wrote letters and did all types of weird shit. His son had spoke out on some weird shit. And then now we get this third guy. My point is that the deep state is clearly after Donald Trump. Now the question becomes, why do we believe that is? Now, some of the things that I mentioned earlier regarding NATO, some of Donald Trump's policies are so, I don't want to say anti-American, but it is really foundational American. It's really like he is also trying to put tariffs on, like 60% tariffs on China. He's also trying to do tariffs on almost all of the people we do trades with, because he is trying to entice manufacturing and all that stuff to come back to the United States and hopefully bolster our economy that way. That is his plans. Obviously, the other half of the country, a lot of people think that it's an idiotic idea and it won't work. But that is his idea. And that when you do tariffs and embargoes and stuff like that, you can isolate yourself from other nations. You can begin to isolate yourself from other nations and create enemies that way. So there's that. There's the NATO withdrawal, and there's also the situation with the Epstein list, and then there's also the war situation. There's those four things there where it's really that the handlers of the United States of America, we won't say who they are, but the handlers of the United States of America, they call them the deep state now. They seriously see Donald Trump as a threat to democracy and to really their ultimate plans, because Donald Trump at the end of the day is a businessman. He's a businessman, and some of his ideologies and policies that he has in place is to fund and stimulate our economy and to get us to do business, um, you know, widespread business across the globe a little bit better. Shane wants me to talk about Lucian Grainge and the Diddy docs. Hold on. We'll get to that. We'll get all to that. The point is that Donald Trump is essentially, I mean, he has a MAGA movement, Make America Great Again, and this movement is really interesting because I don't even think people are really seeing it how I'm seeing it. I'm seeing Donald Trump as really somebody who, ideally, he could help stimulate the economy, and the American people have to decide if we want a stimulated economy, and then do we want the isolation of nations across, like NATO? Do we want that isolation? I've read books in the past, and I've had teachings in the past that says that, and I've always wondered and try to figure out how this would happen, but I see it as the days progress, it becomes more and more evident and clear to me. But I got good word that the war would start in Europe, and then it would spread, and then it will go to the Middle East, and then we would be to expand it, and eventually, when we are to expand it, the final war would begin in America, and our allies would turn our back on us, and we would be isolated. When I read that and heard those teachings, I always was just like, I don't really understand how that could be. I mean, I kind of understood, but it wasn't present at the time. It wasn't real evident at the time. Today, especially if Trump gets in office, I actually see that happening specifically. If Donald Trump if he gets in office and he really pulls out of NATO, or he does these tariffs, really the NATO situation, if he like forces people to do 3% of their GDP, and he stops really doing a lot of defense. If we stop our military spending for NATO, and that doesn't just mean giving funds to Ukraine, giving funds to Israel. I mean what we put forth yearly towards our defense. But he forces the other NATO countries to do it, or he really goes through with his proposal, because he's basically saying, if y'all don't do this, then the United States will not defend y'all. He just said 2 days ago that if Russia, continued to move in Europe and these people did not put more money towards their defense, he would actually recommend Russia to. He's about that money, man. Donald Trump is about business. He's about that money. He's about cutting our spending, and then also stimulating our economy through tariffs and getting imports and stuff like that in here. So that's kind of the situation going on with Donald Trump. I think there's two things going on with him. He is facing he's literally at risk. I almost think that this man might get elected, and then during the inauguration in January, we might see an assassination. But the fact that we're at attempt number 3, now this third one is not really official, but you're outside of a Trump rally with a gun in 2024 after the last 2 attempts. It's pretty clear to me what you're trying to do. I mean, what person would come to a Trump rally with a gun right now with the situation going on? So it's pretty clear as day what's going on as far as that goes. Shane wants me to talk about Diddy, man. I'm so fed up with this Diddy case, man. The Diddy case. Oh man, there's 3 more lawsuits and accusations that are that just came about. A 16-year-old boy, 2 boys and like a girl, but a 16-year-old boy that talk, more spiked drinks. There's a situation with Macy's, and Macy's was involved as far as guards like struck him with a gun, then they raped him. We're over 120 lawsuits now, and Diddy's facing those 3 charges. He's facing 15 to life right now. Now his team is trying to get a new jury and stuff, because they think that the fact that the the feds leaked that video of the Cassie situation is really it's not helping the jury be fair with this case, because they're looking at it because that's completely separate from the case that he's facing. He's facing civil lawsuits, and he's also facing the federal lawsuits as well. I don't know. I mean, we know a little bit about the Lucien Grange, man. Listen, they're not going down. Lucien Grange, Clive Davis, all them guys, Tommy Mottola, they're not going down. They're not going down. Diddy's the fall guy, guys. We talked about this ad nauseum at this point. Diddy's the fall guy. I'm not saying Diddy is innocent of these things. I do not believe he's innocent of these things. I don't think all these cases come out if you're innocent of all of these things. I'm just saying, like I've been saying, there's people that allowed him to do these things. They've had Diddy in the scope the whole time. They recovered like terabytes of film and documentation and stuff now on Diddy's hard drive and stuff. I mean, this is just, it just goes to show you. And again, like I've said before, I mean, to me, it's pretty clear as day that it's more or less so them getting the files and that for Diddy, as opposed to them trying to protect what is on those files. Because we know that high list and celebrities were at these Diddy parties, these free cross parties, but we also have been told that a lot of politicians, high-end politicians, were at these parties as well. Barack Obama, Bill Clinton. Another thing that I think is interesting to keep an eye on, news out of, Ashton Kutcher and his wife are trying to move to Europe now because of the whole situation. We got the only one-man RICO ever in history. The Epstein thing, as well. They just never. Well, I guess he got his wife, but Ashton Kutcher and his wife are trying to get away too. They're trying to move to Europe. And if you remember, back in 2020, 2019, Ashton Kutcher was trying to do the whole sex trafficking documentaries, and he had a whole initiative and had a pledge and people donating stuff to that initiative about sex trafficking. It's just, all that shit is real weird to me, how they are, Ashton Kutcher also had his best friend, Danny Masterman, who was in that show with him, The Ranch, that I used to fuck with The Ranch. And they actually wrote one of my favorite characters off because he was facing a sexual assault case. He got accused and tried and found guilty of rape. And now he's serving time in prison. And that was Ashton Kutcher's real friend in real life. There's also another person, Ashton Kutcher's other friend, same thing, sexual assault case. So Ashton Kutcher has this whole sex trafficking situation initiative that he goes on, but we all know that his relationship to Diddy, he had a real close relationship to Diddy, and you're doing this whole initiative and stuff, but Diddy's thing never raised any eyebrows or anything for you. So again, this is just the game that they're playing. Obviously, there's an industry silence that's going on with the whole Diddy situation. Except Bow Wow, he spoke out this week about it. He said that he missed Diddy parties and that